Dear friends, welcome back to another episode of The Informant. Today we're diving into a chilling topic, how Putin has turned sabotage into a lethal and covert weapon aimed squarely at the West. We'll examine the increasing wave of mysterious attacks that now threaten Europe's critical infrastructure, and discuss the global risks this shadowy strategy could unleash. Just how far will this war in the shadows go? But before we get started, make sure you're subscribed to the channel with notifications turned on. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. On July 26th, during the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games in Paris, unknown agents carried out a coordinated sabotage operation on France's rail network, leaving millions of passengers stranded. Initially, no one claimed responsibility, and the incident is still under investigation. However, intelligence experts have speculated that Russia might be involved. Although there is no definitive proof pointing directly to Moscow, there are strong reasons for suspicion. In recent months, France has taken a more aggressive stance in its support for Ukraine, and Russia has made no secret of its disdain for the International Olympic Committee, especially after Russian athletes were banned from competing this year. Moreover, since the start of this year, European and American intelligence officials have linked a series of sabotage operations across Europe to Russia's GRU intelligence service. These attacks, which include arson and other covert tactics, have targeted transportation networks in over half a dozen European countries, including the Czech Republic, Estonia, Latvia, Germany, Poland, Sweden, and the UK. For instance, in March 2024, a warehouse in East London connected to Ukraine was set on fire. British police arrested 4 individuals on charges of planning an arson attack and aiding Russian intelligence. The following month, an explosion rocked a facility in South Wales belonging to the British defense and aerospace company BAE Systems. While the perpetrators remain unknown, the incident fits the pattern of other recent attacks. In April, German authorities arrested 2 men with dual German-Russian citizenship on suspicion of plotting sabotage at a military base in Bavaria. One of the suspects was allegedly in contact with Russian intelligence. In May, Polish authorities detained 3 men, 2 Belarusians and 1 Polish citizen, accused of carrying out arson and sabotage on Russia's behalf. In perhaps the most shocking incident, in mid-July, CNN reported that U.S. and German intelligence agencies foiled a Russian plot to assassinate Armin Paperger, the head of Rheinmetall, Germany's leading weapons manufacturer and a major supplier of artillery shells to Ukraine. The assassination of a Western citizen on Western soil marks a dramatic shift in Russian tactics, even beyond what we saw during the Soviet era. What's unfolding here is a new chapter in Russia's gray zone operations against the West. These are covert actions that Moscow doesn't claim responsibility for, even though they are clearly directed. At the heart of this strategy is a resurging network of Russian spies, backed by a growing army of local recruits in targeted Western nations. In recent months, Russian-backed forces have signaled that they're ready to strike at Western industrial and transportation infrastructure, and in some cases even Western civilians. By employing these tactics, the Kremlin appears to be pushing the boundaries as far as possible without provoking a full-scale military response. These operations thrive in the gray zone because their covert nature allows plausible deniability, preventing the West from responding with overwhelming military force. We can distinguish between varying levels of gray zone operations. For example, the targeted assassination of enemy leaders, like Israel's strikes against Hamas leaders, is much more overt, even without an official claim of responsibility. Russia, however, is opting for a more subtle approach, sabotaging figures like the CEO of a weapons manufacturer instead. The West, in many ways, has found itself unprepared to deal with this new form of threat. So far, the United States and its European allies have addressed each attack on a case-by-case basis, rather than seeing them as part of a broader Russian campaign. Although some Russian operations have been thwarted, NATO countries have yet to develop a unified strategy to counter this emerging and potentially destabilizing threat. These attacks could grow into a significant destabilizing force at a time of political uncertainty in Europe and a tightly contested presidential election in the United States. Although Russia's sabotage campaign may have caught the West off guard, it's by no means new. Moscow has a long history of using these kinds of tactics. After the Russian Revolution in 1917, the Bolsheviks viewed sabotage as an effective way to undermine the West. During the Cold War, Soviet intelligence, particularly the KGB, devised elaborate plans for sabotage operations in Western Europe and the United States. As the Cold War escalated, the Soviets stockpiled explosives and weapons throughout Western Europe, and possibly even in the United States, that would be used only in the event of an all-out war with the West. These plans were never executed, but the tactics of sabotage were never fully abandoned, as Putin's intelligence services have made abundantly clear. Fast forward to 2014, when Russia annexed Crimea, and Putin reintroduced sabotage into the mix. Between October and December of that year, a series of ammunition depots in the Czech Republic were bombed and destroyed. The Czechs were supplying weapons to Ukraine at the time, but it took the local government 7 years to officially blame Russia for the attacks. Since the invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Russia's intelligence and security services have regrouped with a renewed sense of purpose. One of their boldest plans was the assassination attempt on Armin Paperger, the head of a major German arms manufacturer. That attack may have been a test to gauge Germany's response and the impact on German public opinion regarding its support for Ukraine. In Finland, mysterious intruders have been breaking into water towers and treatment plants, seemingly taking nothing but possibly probing for future attacks or stoking public fears about water security. Russia also appears to be involved in sabotaging underwater cables and pipelines in Swedish, Finnish, and Estonian waters. This kind of aggression, which Russia has perfected over time, continues to go largely unpunished, as Western nations refrain from responding in kind due to ethical and democratic constraints. Although Russia's hybrid war of sabotage may be just the tip of the iceberg, it has the potential to seriously destabilize the West. In August, in a landmark prisoner exchange deal, Western countries agreed to return several Russian intelligence agents in exchange for Russian opposition leaders and journalists, including Evan Gershkovich of the Wall Street Journal. Putin, by personally greeting the agents at the airport, sent a powerful message to his intelligence community. No one who serves the regime will ever be forgotten. If you value independent journalism and want to support our work, consider buying us a coffee through the QR code on the screen. Your contribution is essential for us to continue bringing quality analysis and information. Stay tuned for more updates, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for the latest analyses and insights on the world's most urgent geopolitical issues.